Okay.
Okay, today we have one of our WASH members going to demonstrate for us. This is Diane Pargament. Diane is also the secretary for WASH. And I talked to Diane on the phone to get familiar with some of her habits. And one of the things she said that I loved was that she's just like a lot of other members who have never had a formal academic training in art, but we have an art degree, but is self-taught via the workshops and self-training. So she's kind of one of us that way. She's been painting with watercolors for over 20 years and is most interested in the landscapes of Northern California. When she retired, she came up here, and that's when she started to get into plein air painting and Northern California landscapes. Besides her interest in painting these landscapes, she's also big in sketching, and she is a member of several of the sketching clubs that are local to us. One of them is the Sketch Crawl, and the other is the YOLO Ag Art. So, but today is kind of a special treat for us because if you've ever tried to paint on Yupo, you know how you really have to understand something about Yupo in order to do it. So she's going to give us some of her tips, show us some of her techniques and how to paint with Yupo. And I want to say two things. One is that Diane has a painting in magnum opus, and if you have a chance, go look at it because it is very nice. I honestly did not know the painting I was looking at was Diane, and when I turned around, I said, gee, that's a nice one. I walked over to it, and it was Diane Parton's painting. So there you go. Also, we'll have a short break, but Diane will tell us how she wants to set up the break because she has kind of a before break and after the break system for her presentation today. So, Diane, sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Tana. Like Tana said, I've been painting for about 20 years, and you may be sitting there saying, well, why watercolor? Why Yupo? Why Yupo? Sometimes I wonder. Watercolor, because I love it. First of all, I've always just loved the way it looks. And secondly, I'm allergic to just about every other kind of paint known to man. So I paint in watercolor. And Yupo, because it's a challenge. And at the last American Watercolor Society show, there were a couple of beautiful paintings done on Yupo. One of them got an award, and it inspired me to see if I could maybe paint on Yupo. They were just outstanding, and so I started delving into it. And I entered this one nearest to me in the WASH Open Show, and lo and behold, that won an award. And so I persevered and continued on, and I have been painting with the Yupo for several months now, and eventually, I'll get back to painting on paper, but I really think the Yupo is a lot of fun. Yupo is plastic, but you don't have to worry about using it because it's recyclable. According to the Yupo website, the Yupo is recyclable. And it's waterproof, and you don't have to stretch it. You don't have to do anything to it, except you do have to wash it. It does because it's plastic, it does have a lot of static electricity, and it gathers dust. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how I start out with a Yupo painting. And you want to highlight I can see what I'm doing here. This is just a blank piece of Yupo paper. As you can see, it's just thin white plastic. How many of you have painted on Yupo? Oh, all of you. Okay, well, I'm probably preaching to the choir. Okay, how many like painting on Yupo? Okay, not so many. Well, maybe after this you'll like it better. I just take, the first thing you have to do is wash your Yupo paper because it's got a lot of dust on it. So I just take a Spritz bottle and I just wash it. Easy peasy, just get it wet, wash it with a piece of paper towel and dry it. And then the next thing, all you have to do after that is, I try and get it pretty dry, make sure all the stuff and fingerprints. And some websites recommend using soap. I don't use soap, but if you have fingerprints on it, it's probably, you might want to use soap. And the next thing you do is you take a little piece of tape and you just tape it down and you're done, ready to paint, easy. Okay, so the next thing is getting to know what kind of brush strokes you can use on Yupo. And basically they're the same as paper, but there's a bit more technique involved. So the first one I'm going to show is a wet and wet, and how much fun that is. And I need to dust this off because it's been around a while. So there's probably, I made this board up a couple days ago, so it's probably got cat hairs all over it.
So what did you write on it with, Diane?
I draw and write with water-soluble pencil. Oh, you can see the writing pretty good there. This is just to remind me what I'm supposed to do. But if you're going to draw on Yupo, you can use a water-soluble pencil, and that way, if you when you paint, then it'll disappear. If you think you might want to reuse the paper, and I'm going to call it paper because it's easier. If you might want to reuse it, you can just wash it off and the drawing will wash along with it. If you use a regular pencil, it won't wash off unless you use a Mr. Clean, one of those white Mr. Clean things, and then you can scrub the pencil off with that. So washing it also helps the paint adhere a little bit better. It kind of cleans up the surface. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint a sky. And for the sky, I use a wet and wet technique. So I use quite a lot of water. And then I use quite a lot of paint. I think Yupo uses a lot more paint than paper. It just sits, of course, you all know who have used Yupo, the paint just sits on the top of the surface. So, but you can get some really fun effects if you just let it do its thing. And this is just cobalt blue and ultramarine. And then you can lift it. And the thing is that you have to pretty much work on a flat surface. Otherwise, you will have it dribbling down onto the table. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Is this similar to aquaboard?
It's aquaboard has a rough surface, and so it does absorb some of the paint. This doesn't absorb any paint at all. But it's similar, but it's not the same as aquaboard.
Does the brush and paint feel the same? Because you can get a board that's slick, not just like a scratch board.
I haven't done this on scratch board, so I don't know. But the aquaboard that I've used has a rough surface. So this pretty much constitutes the sky. And then you can, like any watercolor paper, you can draw it down and make a wash. And what I like about it is that you can get some really fun effects by tilting the board and letting it run. And you can add water and let it run some more. There you go. But you have to be careful not to add too much water, because then you get a puddle. You wind up with it everywhere. Okay, so that's the wet and wet, and that's basically, I use that for skies and backgrounds and to kind of, if I want a whole background thing. Then the next thing I do is, sounds like it's cutting out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I do wet on dry without making a puddle of water first. That was awful. That's sap green. I usually use this Perylene green, but I'm almost out of it and I couldn't find the tube, so I need it for my demo.
Are you using a natural hairbrush or?
This is a Da Vinci Cosmo Top Mix B. It's a mix. So for like a tree, I just use a wet. And then you can, I love how the colors run.
Does it dry darker or does it dry what you're seeing?
It dries what you're seeing, almost, yeah. It's a little bit lighter. It's not darker. It's more matte. See, this is very shiny right now, but it does dry more matte than this. So you can make some pretty colors and let them run for your tree, and it's running into the sky. And that's the thing you have to be careful of with Yupo, is it runs everywhere. But you can stop that by taking your brush and just drying off that section. And there you go, it stops. It's so quiet in here. Usually I have the TV on when I'm painting and my cat's walking all over the painting. And one nice thing about Yupo is the way the colors run, because you can get, some really creative.
Did you take a class, Diane, or just got
No.
interested in it from the painting of the show and looked at videos, or did you just experiment?
I did not take a class. I'd like to take a class, but I haven't found one really. So I just looked at those paintings. It keeps cutting out. I looked at those paintings and I thought, how did they do that? And I went online and I did look at some videos and just played around with it. It's very glary up here on this. This is very shiny, so I'm having to. I had cataract surgery and I don't have my new glasses yet, so I have no idea what this looks like. Okay, so, a tree. Then you can do dry on dry or sort of dry on dry. Like if you want to do a rooftop or something like that. The technique that I like the most with the a Watercolor Society show painting was like a stained glass window effect, and I'm going to attempt to show you that. But this is like, if you don't want to have the colors all run, you can do that. Just with a dry brush and no water, or very little water. You can't do a dry brush effect with Yupo the way you can with a regular, like a cold press. If you get your brush and you're all set, and like on a cold press, you run it across and it skips and makes spaces and things. This is basically what you get. Either you don't get enough, or if you get it wet, then you get too much. So if you want that kind of effect, I recommend that you use cold press or rough painting and not Yupo. And I see my tree has just run all over the place. That's what happens when you have too much water. Let's see how you can bring that back. And it does make some pretty interesting effects, which is one thing I like about the Yupo.
Do you find that you can overwork it or it's?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But the nice thing about Yupo, if you overwork it, like this tree is pretty overworked. Goodbye. And there's a little bit of color left on there that I could wash off very easily. So then you can go back and try it again. The stained glass effect is a little bit tricky, but it's kind of fun. You take a basic color, you kind of wash it down. The one painting that was in the American Watercolor Society show that had this effect was that one of the pillars. I don't know if you remember it. It was white pillars like the old Roman and some old Roman building ruins. And then in the background, it was very dark with a very dark sky. And it looked like a stained glass effect. And then he threw some salt or something on it to get an effect. So it was really cool. So then you can go on top of it. And you can see your brush gives you kind of a start and a stop. So you can overlap. And this was what I started out doing because I thought, oh, this is the easy way to do it. But it's pretty time consuming. In order to do this, you have to get a lot of color on your brush. And basically, you just kind of make squares or rectangles of various shades. And then you add colors. I don't have any particular plan for this. I'm just throwing color on it. It would probably look better if I had a plan. This is just to show you, the technique as opposed to painting a painting.
And when it's drying, do you have to worry about like at a certain point, like you might get a bloom or a blossom or something? Does it react that way?
Yeah. It does. The colors run into each other, just like the tree ran into the sky, because I had it too close. If I don't want that to happen, then I need to leave a space. Is this cutting out?
Battery's dying, probably.
We just changed the batteries. Maybe those batteries we changed to.
The light is red or yellow or green.
It's green.
So it might be make sure that the connection is solid in the device. Okay.
I'll just keep fudging with it. So if you make this a big enough area, then you can have a really nice background to something. I did one of a geranium that had this kind of a background. And then you offset, you have this bright flower with this really cool background with these different. It's not showing up too well on me, unfortunately.
You might take it up to the camera and see.
Where is the camera? Here.
Yes.
Can you see it? Okay. I'll leave this up, so if you want to during the break, you can come and have a look at it. I don't want to belabor it because we could be here all day painting this little square.
I can't remember which, I think it was the AWS show, our last AWS show, there's an artist, and I'm not gonna get his last name right. I think it's Brown. Look it up. I don't know if you remember it, Diane, but he did a whole beautiful, like a harbor with boats.
Yeah, with the lady. There was a lady standing in oh, you're talking about that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the AWS show.
Yeah,
And it seems like, it reminds me of the technique you just showed us, the
Mhm.
way he did the harbor with the boats, all on Yupo. I thought it was,
right.
I don't know, I didn't know how he accomplished it, but it looks like what you just did.
Well, it's a lot of different techniques to get something like that. I discovered it's not just one thing. So you can mix your techniques and get a lot of different effects. Now this is really wet and it's all blending into each other. And somebody asked if it dries lighter or darker. When it blends together like this, then it's gonna, get lighter. So the sky now is pretty light. Now, if I were gonna make that into a painting, I would, run some color into that to liven it up a little bit. And it stays wet for quite a while, so you can do things like this. Okay, so that's basically the techniques that I use. There are other techniques, like if you go online and you do some YouTube videos, you'll see one guy that does stamping. He gets the paint all down, and then he takes materials like, lace or stuff, and he stamps it into the paint. And he also uses rollers to get different effects. And I tried that and I wasn't impressed by my ability to do that. He was real good at it, but I wasn't. So I don't, at least not now. I may try it again. So I'm gonna put this down so it doesn't run all over the place. And get started with the actual demo.
What about lazy? How do you accomplish that? When you put work
I'm gonna do a little bit of that. Here, it's hard because it lifts real easy, but if you put down a very light wash, and that's what I'm going to do here. I put down a really light wash in the background.
You want me to wash the water?
That's okay, I'll do it at the break. I'm just gonna do this and then we'll break. I don't know how much time that actually took. Did it really take that long?
It's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, but Chris took up some time too. Okay, so I'm going to donate. Hello. I'm going to donate $50 to buy a new stool for the demonstrators that has a cushion on it. Because boy, this thing's getting hard. Okay, so I'm gonna put down, yeah, that's not the color I want, but that's okay. I'm gonna put down a wash here. I will stand up to do this. Yes, you do. You put your fingers on it and mess it up. But you can, like here, there's a couple of spots that may be fingerprints or whatever. You can just go like that. So I put down a wash like this in the background. And if you get the brush stroke, the streaks, and you don't want them, one thing you can do is use a round, not a flat. The other thing you can do is add water and more paint.
Is your cat down here on Yupo? The cat?
That's my cat, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you. It's on Yupo. Yeah, all three, this one, I don't know if you can see that one over there. They're all on Yupo. And even when you get some brush strokes, if you add the water, then eventually it blends together and it gets to be a nice washy blend. I should be using a round for this though, actually.
Do you get less edges with a round than with a square?
You get less brush strokes. You get less, with the square, you do get brush strokes. It wants, keeps wanting me to join the audio. Maybe that's what my problem is with this microphone. I'm watching myself, so I make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So just a little touch of violet to go in there. Oh, that's way too much. I always get too much violet on my brush. Sometimes it's hard to get as much color as you want. Like I'm not, I want this a little darker over here. That'll blend. I keep using the wrong one. It's a pretty ugly green. Painting on Yupo may not be the most exciting thing in the world because you have to keep going back. But that pretty much does it for the background now.
Have you ever decided that after it's dry, you need more color somewhere, or you need to add a layer of color? Because I'm thinking, I don't know, how do you do that on Yupo?
I'll show you eventually.
Repeat the question, please.
Hmm?
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. She asked if you feel like you need more color, then how do you add it on Yupo after it's dried? And you can. Sometimes you mess it up and, you know, you have to regroup, but it can be done. And what I'm going to do is put these colors down now, and then we'll take a break and let it dry a little bit. And then when we come back, I'll do some of that. Like here where I'm painting right now, I'm going to put a background color. I'm going to come back over this and put dark paint on it. Okay. You know, I had a friend who she was a teacher. She did a lot of demonstrations. She told me one time, never demonstrate anything that you haven't painted at least 20 times or 100 times. So I practiced this, and of course, it never comes out the same twice. And I'm going, but I can't get it the same. I liked it better the last time I did it. Okay. So I think all those goodies over there are calling. People are, I can hear stomachs growling and people wondering when I'm going to call for a break. So what I'm going to do is do that, go for break now, and then come back and finish. About 10 minutes. Okay, dry much. And may have to resort to using a hairdryer on this, so I don't recommend it until it blows the color all over the place. But you can't use a hairdryer. You don't get it too hot. If you get it too hot, you're liable to melt the paper. Although it's pretty hot. Okay. So I'm just gonna continue, work on the background. All I see is me. I have a hairdryer thing. All I see is me.
Oh, there it is. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to continue. Going to continue. There's a short or something in here because when I touch it, it comes back on.
Is that voice activated?
So I don't know what the deal is with it.
Anyway, it's getting old.
Yeah, well, we need a donation. I'll donate the chair, but I'm not going to donate the microphone. Okay, so going to continue to just do the background, and mostly this is going to be wet on dry. And this color that I'm using now is Caroline Green. And I'm just going to place some in here. And you can see how it kind of floats away from where you first lay it down. You just have to keep applying it and get enough paint on there. Oh, you would ask. I think it is. I bought a new one called Jadeite Green. Thomas Shower, who I'm sure you all know who he is, uses Jadeite Green, which is a beautiful color. I have some here. But I'll tell you, $13 for two. You don't want to use a lot of it. But I honestly, this is jadeite green right here. And I don't see a whole lot of difference. You can use jadeite green and black or neutral tint to get Caroline green. It looks pretty much the same to me. This is supposed to be kind of a watery scene. So it's going to look pretty watery along here. This is like a marsh. Between the glare and my bare eyes, I'm having trouble seeing the colors. And then just a little greens on the ends and neutral tints. And this is just the background color, so I'm going to add some darker colors to that. And let that run a little bit. The problem is if you're working on a section of the painting down here where I am, and this part over here hasn't quite dried, then you wind up with all this paint down here. So you have to be kind of careful. I don't usually do it all at one time like this. Give it some time to dry. I should have written down the colors on these. So this is gonna be a little ultramarine and violet mixed in with the jadeite green.
Longer does it take for Yupo to dry versus the regular arches?
It takes longer simply because it sits on top of the paper rather than soaking in. And so it just is a puddle of water. And so it can get frustrating because if you want it to dry, sometimes it doesn't dry when you want it to. But I don't know. I don't know if you can see it, but there is some dirt up here, so I'm gonna just pick it up with my brush. Without the buff on this microphone. Hello? Okay. But I intersperse these colors. Maybe if I don't turn my head,
Or you could take it off and just project.
yeah, I could go. Will the people online, I don't think there's very many people online.
There are 19.
Oh, are there?
Well, no, they're about 15. 15.
It didn't look like there were very many. What about that microphone down there? I get something better. Problem. Okay, we're gonna yell. Okay, you can see here where I run the water into the up above the colors up above and it's running down and kind of making a nice effect, which I rather like. I'm gonna put a little more purple green there. Offset that. Well, I can talk loud because nobody ever accused me of being shy. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
You hear me in the back? So I'm just, just adding colors, and this is not glazing, but it's one way of getting your colors darker. Is to just keep adding more and more color. And you use a lot of paint when you do so because you keep adding color.
Can you always do that when it's wet?
Not always, no. When it's dry. Right now, I'm doing it with now.
Do you have a problem with the paint lifting?
What?
Do you have a problem with the paint lifting?
Yeah, it will lift. If you, it'll lift. So this part up here is still a little wet, and I want to put a little more color in there. So before it dries, I'm gonna pass the color, let it kind of swim around. I can hold that. Oh, I can just hold it. Oh my God. Okay. I only need one hand to paint. Okay, where were we? I have this is my cheat sheet in case you're wondering what I'm looking at. Like I said, I painted this one or more times. So the bird is sitting on a branch, and I want to highlight that branch. I'm putting darks around it. I have this big smear of blue over here on my palette. I don't know why. One day I thought I needed a lot of this blue. I'm not even sure what color it is. So I'm trying to use it up in all my paintings. I put a little bit of blue so I can use it up one day. Because I'm too cheap to scrape it all out and start over. I mean, when you paint, the paint costs $13 a tube. Are you kidding? I mean, Tom Michelle may be able to afford it, but I can't. Okay. And once it's dry, like this little piece down here is pretty dry. You can pick up the color and blend it if you want to. You don't like that sharp edge. And now this is running brown. I really don't want it to particularly, although it's not too bad. But you can stop it from running by drying the paper and then it just boom, and that's no place to go. So that's pretty much the background. I want to drop a little more dark in here to balance the other side. Yeah, I don't know. Let me take that out. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the bird. I don't know if you can all see that there's a bird there. There is. So this is just more blue. Mostly ultramarine. The one nice thing about having that head microphone is you can turn your head and talk. Okay, I'm not really happy with this. Just going to do this. No bird ever looked like this. But its body shape is based on a white-crowned sparrow. If you know your birds, you may recognize the head, but you won't recognize the body. And I just want to get some basic colors on here now. I may have to use the hairdryer to dry this. We'll see. It's a little bright, so I'm just toning it down a little bit with some neutral tint. It wasn't me. I don't know. You can probably tell I'm not a member of the Clean Palette Club. I almost never clean my palette from the start to the finish of the painting. Maybe that's not a good thing, I don't know, but that's just the way I do. I'm starting to get some drawing edges here, I wanna not have them be hard, cleaning that up a little. I almost never paint with a flat brush except on Yupo, because you can get some effects with it.
Do you prefer flat to round on Yupo?
I do both, it just depends on what I'm doing. But this kind of thing, it just seems to lend itself to a flat brush. This kind of is like that, stained glass effect that I'm doing. So that need to do a flat brush. Normally, I think I would wait for stuff to dry before doing this. Because it's blending more than I want, but it will be different. Just blur off that index, it's hard to see it. No, don't close, we'll get too dark. Yeah, but thanks anyway, but I'm just commenting because in case you're wondering why I'm doing what I'm doing. I wanted to leave a space here. So I'm just cleaning that out.
Diane, are those ones are new paints, and are there some watercolor paints that work better on two more than the other?
I don't know, I use a mixture, I use all kinds of different paints. I started out using exclusively Windsor Newton because I thought it was, cool. But they started getting really expensive. And so I started branching out and taking when I would take classes, I would, try out some of the paints that the instructor was using. So I used Daniel Smith and I used Windsor Newton, I don't know, a couple others whatever else is out there. But no, I don't know if any paint is better on Yupo than another. Most of my paints are still Winsor and Newton. As you can tell, this is kind of a cross between an abstract and an abstract. There's not much real about it. I don't know I don't know that you can get really realistic with people. It would be very hard. Although I managed with my cap to get some detail. But that's just, small, little small brush strokes. It's because I'm not covering a lot of area with those brush strokes. So I just need to add some touches here.
You put a fixative on that too?
Yeah. That's my least favorite thing about Yupo, is that it really does need a fixative. I put a couple of coats of workable fixative Krylon. Is it Krylon? Yeah, workable fixative, and then a coat of just regular spray varnish, clear varnish. And then you don't have to actually, you don't have, if you do that, you don't have to put it behind glass. If I just do a couple of coats of workable fixative, then I put it behind glass. But I just did one that I put 2 coats of fixative, a coat of clear varnish, and then a coat of Dormans. And it's really great. It's impervious to anything. And then frame it without glass. But that's the least favorite part because I hate using that spray paint.
So what's the trick? You do it from a distance, and what's the trick to not move the Yupo underneath it?
I take it out on my front patio and I put it on the table and I just, yeah, you can't spray it close, otherwise you get drips. So you just have to spray it, about that far away. I just stand there and do it, outside. The workable fixative smells. The clear coat is low odor, and that's not too bad. So here I'm not actually doing layers or glazing, but you can see that you can add paint, and sometimes not, because this one didn't work out so good. But you can just always wash it back to get what you want. Okay, I'm going to stand up because I'm absolutely dying in this chair. Okay, so this fat little bird. Gonna get some gray. Oops, too much. You also have to be careful not to put your hand in it when you're trying to. work around all this stuff. But he's nearly finished. Hard to do the eye. I just put my hand in it, so I'll show you how to fix that. My favorite thing is to put my sleeve in it. One nice thing about Yupo is if you get the wrong color, something you don't want, it's so easy to get rid of it. So actually, that's pretty close to it. The only thing that I would do differently is in these areas here, where the color is all blended on the one that I've done before. It's not me, my painting. I would let it dry and then define the feathers a bit more here, right here. But it needs to dry. It needs like an overnight dry for that to happen. So you won't get to see it. However, I have one that I did before that I can show what it really looks like. And she needs someplace to be sitting, so. This is just too much of a flow of water here or something. Let's get rid of it. So that's pretty much it. I have a lot of runs here that if once it dries, I'll probably go back and get rid of some of that. And I'd love to hold it up and show you, but it would all be on the floor. So. By the magic of television.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is the finished product. When it's all, when it's dry and you have time to fuss with it and put in some details. So that's it. Are there any questions or I'm done? Anybody questions? Yeah.
I do have a question. This lovely bee and foliage Yupo that you brought, the blackish lines, are those all done just paint?
That's paint.
Heavy paint with fine tip?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, that's all. Yeah, that's all paint. This one, yeah, this is all paint. That's just a fine brush and a mix of neutral tint and maybe some ultramarine blue. This is the brush I use for that. This is a number 2 silver black velvet. So it's pretty small. And I've done a little bit of lining with that brush on this one too. This part here. Some of that. Okay, anything else? Yes?
Do you ever use a palette knife to scrape on people?
No, you could, like if you wanted to make a line, but if you want to make like a fine white line, in your phone, you just and find a dry slot, you need a dry slot. So you can, are you on my paint? Yeah.
Yep.
You can just take and draw the water through it. Like that. Can you see that? If you wanted any finer than that, I don't know, because I don't know if a palette knife would work, I've never tried it.
It works, you just have to be very delicate. So
Mhm.
you don't scratch the surface.
Yeah, yeah. You can, there's also smaller brushes than this. Looks like they're lining up to pick up the kids. We may never get out of here. See, that makes a pretty fine line. Any smaller than that, you may not be able to see it, so. Okay. This one is really interesting because it's blended a lot more, and I kind of like it. It's, in the area where the feathers are, it's kind of run and blended, and that's the beauty of Yupo. You never quite know what you're gonna get. And I think that's kind of cool. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, that's it for today, and don't forget, if anyone wants to do painting of the month, please contact Dennis or myself. Thanks.